Okay, it's been fabulous listening to everybody else's presentation. So I'm going last. I won't keep people. Um, but I trained as a trainer in January 22, and because I trained during COVID, my first experiences of facilitating workshops were all online. And some of them have been with protests and suffragettes who you've met. They've mentioned quite a bit today. But doing this course, Perth Women Wikipedia, was my first face-to-face event. And so I just threw myself in the deep end and created a 6-week course. Just to say that when I say Perth Women, I mean Perth, Scotland, because it caused a lot of confusion with our Wikimedia Australia colleagues on Twitter. But this was in partnership with Culture Perth and Kinross Libraries. And as you can see from the images, their marketing team created fabulous promotional materials, including old-fashioned flyers. So I was out flyering in the town, old school with paper, and an older man approached me and kind of scoffed that we'd be hard put to come up with many notable Perth women. I want to show you just how wrong he was, because the marketing team came up with not just one flyer, but a whole series of flyers. So you could, in theory, collect them all, like Pokemon. Um, and unfortunately, these are not Creative Commons, so we can't upload them to Wikimedia Commons, but I just think they're beautiful. So I worked with the library's local history team to develop the course. So you can see the course structure. We had an introduction to Wikipedia session. The staff showed us what online resources are available through the library for researching our women, like Ancestry and Press Reader, which you might have used before, and Scran, which is a fantastic Scottish local history resource. And if you haven't seen the National Library of Scotland side by side to your referenced map, please check it out. I'll put the link in the chat afterwards. Um, and the session after that brought us into the local history section of the library. And we discovered, an absolute trove of books that we could use. There were historic maps of the area and the Holy Grail, which was the card catalogue. We loved the card catalogue. This is where we proved the notability of so many of our women, because there were literally hundreds of articles of local newspapers that we could use as sources for their articles. And I've included a picture of Craig because Craig heads the local history team and is also an absolute rock star. And thanks to his help and his team's help, and all the research that we did, our work list started off with 37 women, and it's now 66 and climbing. Because, as you know, I think Becky mentioned rabbit holes, researching one woman in red always turns up another, at least one other. And so these are some of the Perth women who are in Wikipedia that we have either created their articles or we've improved their articles. We have more Perth women on Wikipedia, both in terms of new editors. We have 12 new editors and we've got 3 new articles. We improved another 31 and we added 144 citations. And one of the editors also wrote a creative piece about one of the suffragettes force-fed in Perth prison, based on the research she'd done during the course. I mean, that's Maud Edwards there in the top right-hand corner. So these are just some of the women we worked on. I'm not going to name all of them, but just to say we had an Olympian, we had a dancer, we had suffragettes, we had Scotland's first female MP, we had the world's first female marine engineer, we had a code breaker, we had a storyteller, a footballer, a golfer, and a very big fish. So they're random sexist guy in the community. So we advertised the course for all genders and all ages, but all those who signed up were women of a certain age. But that's okay. We had 12 of the 12 places available, so it was fully signed up and they all attended. But one of the things we realized is that life gets in the way. So not everyone attended every session, which meant that we were circling back a few times and people were working at different paces. So this was a really, really useful tool because all the editors were newbies. And for the first time, I used the spanner thanks to Sarah who suggested it. And I think it makes a big difference because when one of our editors submitted her first article, she got this really, really lovely message from a reviewer. And I just think it's so lovely and affirming for somebody who's new to the community. Um, Now, during the course of the 6 weeks, not every communication we got from Wikipedia was this friendly, because we hit an IP block on the very first day, and couldn't create account. So I learned a lot about IP blocks in a very short time and managed to get it lifted between the first session and the fourth session, which was when we did most of our editing. So it was all fine in the end. Um, but what I want to say about my experience, what I've learned is that I couldn't have done it without the support of other Wikimedians. So they were the ones who dealt with my endless queries, particularly around the IP block. Thanks, Sarah and Richard, and the admin who removed the block. Um, Leah for sharing slides that I could adapt, so I wasn't starting from scratch. Chucks for sending merch, so I was able to give out Women in Red badges and things as little treats when people did their first edit and things like that. And Lucy for providing remote support, because unfortunately no other trainers were able to travel to Perth. And one thing I'd say I've learned is that in a room with that many newbies, it would have been great to have someone else in the room. Um, but this is us. We have 12 new editors who helped make the internet less sexist and who are keen to continue the group. So I was hoping I'd be able to share the big news that we're going to set up a monthly Wikipedia club in the library that editors could drop into for support and, to maintain motivation. But we're still waiting on confirmation from the library. So watch this space. Thank you very much.